I've shared with many of you that I set out to give 100 free readings when I was first becoming aware of my mediumistic skills. Once I started giving those readings, I learned a lot. But I needed something else to help me overcome the roadblocks that I wasn't expecting. So today, I'm sharing the top 2 things that, when combined, absolutely made me a better medium. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell too if you want to be notified the next time that I release a new video about all things mediumship. I share recordings of my readings so you can see me in action, spiritual how-tos, meditations, and so much more. I remember listening to this podcast between 2 really advanced mediums. They started talking about how everyone's calling themselves a medium now, but that they were doing it without properly understanding and mastering their craft. They got into the fact that before people have had enough experience as a medium, sometimes they don't know what proper mediumship ethics are. That really hit me and made me think. It's easy to try something out and feel like you're quickly getting the hang of it, but what about knowing the A to Z of what you've started before you start to regularly take on the huge responsibility that mediumship is? How might that make you a better medium? This conversation really changed my approach to mediumship, because I decided that I needed to go all the way in terms of knowing as much as I possibly could, so that when I went out to start working with people, I could truly call myself a professional and a proficient medium. Let's talk about the 2 things that, when combined, made me a much better medium. Well, you probably know a little bit about what the first one is. It is reading often and consistently. Different mediums give a different amount of readings consistently over time. I actually only give about 3 readings a week. While I could give more, that's my happy place. But when I was first starting out, I'd probably give 5 or 6 readings a week just to get used to things. But if reading more often and consistently for you means that you give 1 or 2 readings a week, that's absolutely fine as well. Let's get a little bit more granular about what I mean when I say reading often and consistently. There's 2 types of readings that I want you to give. I want you to have experience giving readings to the public, and I want you to have experience giving practice readings in a positive environment. Now, you might start with practice readings in a positive environment first, and then go on to give readings to the public. Let's talk about practice readings in a positive environment. Generally, what I mean by that is giving practice readings in a development circle or some other positive environment where you can really feel like it's okay to practice and not be perfect. Development circles are a safe, they're a positive, they're an encouraging environment. And if you get stuck, there should be a great mentor who can help you work through the challenge. If you're in a really high quality development circle, they'll probably give you excellent exercises to help you develop different clairs and to learn how to navigate your mediumship when things happen that you don't expect. Still, a lot of circles are a lot simpler than that. You might just come in, practice a reading, watch others practice, and leave. This was exactly what my first development circle was. There was very little feedback. We didn't do exercises. We literally just practiced giving readings. Now, when we talk about giving readings to the public, this is a very different experience. And you want to start doing this consistently once you're comfortable, because this is huge. The pressure goes up when you're not just in a practice circle. You've heard that experience is the best teacher. And when it comes to getting used to giving readings to the public, this is so true. I had a mentor tell me once that learning to give readings without a sitter is like learning to swim out of water. You need to get that validation, but you need to do it in a setting that feels more professional and has more pressure. This is something that will really advance your mediumship. Maybe you're doing 3 practice readings a week, and then you have 1 reading that you give to the public that feels like a little bit higher stakes. When you give both of these types of readings, you need that feedback so that you can become attuned to how your mediumship works and attuned to how to speak to spirit. Both of these ways of reading help you to get to know your mediumship, and that's so important. When you give enough readings, you go through similar experiences enough times to know, oh, when spiritual impressions come to me in this way, it tends to mean X, Y, Z. When I start to have this experience, I know the best way to handle it is by doing A, B, C. You'll also start to understand when a certain impression is actually a symbol. It stays the same from reading to reading. So these are just examples of getting to know how your mediumship works and how giving readings often and consistently can help that happen. The other thing that reading consistently can help you with is to understand the tools that Spirit's trying to teach you. Now, one of the ways you can tell that you're getting a lesson from Spirit is when all of a sudden you start getting a new challenge you haven't had before. It could be something like all of a sudden multiple spirits are coming to your readings instead of just one. It could be that you're kind of feeling like you're stuck in a theme. Perhaps you're stuck in the theme of grandparents. This is actually a very normal thing for people to say. I'm always getting grandparents. I don't really get like siblings or parents or friends. So that's another way to know that Spirit's taking you on a journey and focusing on a certain chapter or section of your mediumship. Perhaps the theme is spirits that have passed from suicide. And so most of the spirits coming through have passed in that way. And you start to notice, oh, that's happening. If you're reading consistently enough, you'll notice the themes from Spirit and you'll work through them. A lot of you know from my story that this was a big part of helping me to advance my development, but there's something else I did that I haven't actually shared as much about just yet, and I want to share about it now. I was missing something in my initial approach, but I didn't realize it for a while. I was in development circle, but it was only, like I said, a practice and leave situation, which was only helpful to a certain extent. The problem was that I was learning so much in my readings, both when I was practicing and when I was reading for the public, but I still had questions and a lack of understanding a lot of other things foundationally about the art of mediumship itself. For example, I got really nervous for a while about whether or not I needed to ground myself before a reading and set boundaries with Spirit to protect my energy. I didn't get a chance to learn that in any of the circles that I took. No one went through that piece. And I had this fear of getting dark entities or spirits attached. I don't have that fear now, but I wish I would have had more education about that sooner on, because it made reading kind of an anxious thing for me for a little while. Another thing I really missed out on was I did not learn how to read in a sustainable way. What happened is I remember the week that I gave 13 readings, and shortly after that, there were other factors as well, like things going on in my life, but I went into a period of pretty intense anxiety. I didn't know how to manage the energy that it took for me to give readings and to pace myself and to learn how many readings a week was okay for me. It was pretty painful because it was overall a mini burnout, but still something that set me back. I also could have used a book of helpful exercises for developing my clairs that didn't come as easily, like claircognizance in the beginning. I was never taught anything about how to do that or specific exercises that I could maybe go do on my own or with a friend. Most definitely, no one taught me how to handle sitting with someone who was a really tricky sitter, someone who was really difficult to read for, and how that might affect me, take me out of my game, make me wonder if I was good enough to be a medium, all that stuff. I had very few experiences as well about how to handle hearing no in a productive way without letting my confidence completely plummet. While I touch on these topics in my development circle, the format of a circle is all about getting a chance to get time practicing while you learn from a good mentor. However, you can see here that my course is the thing that provides the format to go ahead and to go into all of these amazing topics in detail. In fact, now that I've taught my development circle many times and taken different courses myself, I've discovered what I believe is really the most valuable stuff you need to know in terms of structured and organized content, and in a way that can complement what you learn from giving readings consistently and often to the public and while you're practicing. In fact, my students who participate in my development circle have so many questions. While I do have a short Q&A at the beginning of my development circle, I never have time to teach a whole lesson about every single one of their important questions. That is exactly why I created my course, Speaking with Spirits, and I created structured lessons for every question that my students have asked me. Here's what my course, Speaking with Spirit, offers that mediumship development circles just don't have the capacity to include. First of all, structured content. A huge difference between a live course and a development circle is the defined content that covers the A to Z of mediumship and can't fit into the format of a development circle. The nuanced details of mediumship, a step-by-step education, it's easily presented in a live program, whereas a development circle is a lot less formal, and it focuses on creating a space to practice without lessons, without highly detailed content. In my course, Speaking with Spirits, there's a special orientation period about the must-knows for approaching mediumship development that I really wish somebody would have shared with me. Things like how to create boundaries with spirit, how to ground, center, and protect your energy, understanding mediumship ethics, understanding mediumship development cycles when your mediumship starts changing or it's not working as well for a little while, the difference between working psychically and mediumistically, my take on negative spirits and dark energy, what emotionally and sustainable mediumship looks like for you, and just a chance to identify your unique goals for your practice. And there's so much more. In my course, Speaking with Spirits, you get access to detailed written content and video trainings that take you through my teachings, my entire body of work on the A to Z of mediumship that I don't have time to go into in Development Circle, including things like detailed lessons of how to understand and utilize every single clairsense, how to prepare for your readings, the step-by-step of how to give a mediumistic reading, how to handle pressure as a medium, how to navigate readings that don't work out, right? When you can't make a connection or you're just getting a lot of no's, how to handle hearing a no during a reading without it taking the confidence out of you and making you feel like you shouldn't be a medium or you're not good enough to be a medium, how to connect with your spirit guides. And that's just a little bit of what's in the course. There's so much more, but the most exciting thing that a lot of development circles don't have that Speaking with Spirits, my course, has is a friendly online community forum. It's a live program, so this is not a self-study course. You'll have in-person support from me every single week while I walk you step by step through the defined curriculum, but you'll also have friends in an online home that's intuitive, it's easy to use, it's going to allow you to be in conversation about the trainings, about what it's like to be a medium, to partner on exercises outside of class, and just to build an amazing community of wonderful humans. If you're interested in strengthening your clairs so you can speak to spirit, you can download my free guide below. It's called 3 Easy Exercises to Strengthen Your Clairs and Speak to Spirit. The URL to get there is below in this video description. If you're excited about my course Speaking with Spirits and you want to check it out, you can go to mediumshipwithmel.com/SPS to get on the waitlist for my course Speaking with Spirits before enrollment opens soon. Don't forget to check out this video next. And if you like this video, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell if you want to be notified the next time I release a video on all things mediumship.